What's forget about it? What is it?
Forget about it. It's like, if you agree with someone, like Raquel Welch's one great piece of ass, forget about it. Then it's also like if something is the greatest thing in the world, like Miguelos Peppers, forget about it. Sometimes it just means, forget about it.
Looking like Jesus at the Last Supper, surrounded by snakes when the crowd loves ya. Who's this ruthless Judas? Doesn't matter, bro. He only has one goal, leaving you on sabbatical. Alien predator, making you pray to your God, pleading for your forgiveness when you face this mirage. Forget about it. It's a tale as old as time is reminded when you're blinded. What divine designed it led us to this moment. Lock, stock, and barrel, careful getting loaded. Shots off on arrow, caught in crosshair splittings. Justify the means, right? Left handle in trouble.
Nice. Oh, are we live now?
Yeah, we
Might
are.
as well be.
Heckin' A.
We might as well be live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're alive, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Got that going for us.
You're
You know,
way over there, it feels like today.
Huh?
You're way over there.
You guys aren't angled together as much this time.
That makes you the enemy.
That sounds about right.
Isn't that how you almost always go at this? No matter what angle we're at? I didn't know
No.
that the angle had something to do with it.
No. You're my friend. Friend of me on the podcast, maybe.
Yeah. On the podcast. Oh, gosh.
I'm not really against you. I just like to argue.
Yeah. I think that's mostly true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're pretty good at arguing.
Thanks. I do it a lot. Oh man.
Well
Sometimes, though,
versed.
the thing is that sometimes, like, I find myself arguing, and I don't even realize I was arguing until someone else calls me out for, like, and not even calls me out. They'll, like, submit, right? And they'll be like, okay, fine, and then they, like, submit to it, and I'm like, wait, I wasn't trying to convince you.
Uh-huh.
I was like,
That took the
Truly.
turn I wanted to turn? That you didn't know that you were arguing until you won?
Or like
Oh,
those
yeah.
cars that you're racing.
it's like
that
autopilot.
they might not know that you're racing, but
Uh-huh.
you're definitely racing
It's
in
like
your
when
car.
It's like when I drive around River Point. If I don't remember where I'm going, autopilot takes me straight to Chick-fil-A. I'll be in the Chick-fil-A line. Like, what am I doing here? I'm not hungry.
How'd I get here?
Oh, let's go to Target. I forgot.
Well, I'm here. Might as well get some hate nuggets.
You know what I'm saying? Some Ice Dream, boy. They got one of the top 3 ice creams that you can get in a drive-thru.
What's ice cream?
That's what they call their ice cream.
Oh, lame.
I thought that was the what is it? The Arnold Palmer's that they call like the Sunshine something.
They have Arnold Palmer's?
They don't
they'd
call
have
it
to.
an Arnold Palmer.
No, they call it
order Arnold
something
Palmer's
else.
all the time. Nobody's ever corrected me.
Excuse me, sir. Here at Chick-fil-A, we call it a smiling sunrise.
No, I think that's what it is. Hey.
You're like, fuck Arnold Palmer. We don't like golf. Oh, man. Arnold Palmer
Oh,
was
with
a golfer,
Sunjoy
right?
is what they call
Yeah,
it.
he sure was a golf. I think no, he's
I think he's
passed.
old.
Yeah, he's old, but I mean, isn't that all golfers? Except for like Tiger Woods. I mean, the rest of them, like they old. They're old. Yeah.
True.
Like Tom Daly. I feel like I've heard the name Tom Daly my entire life, and he was old when I heard it first, and still old now.
I can tell you the first time that I ever heard that name was about 5 seconds ago.
Same, geez.
I'm also only 80% sure that's a golfer.
I know
too.
Carson Daly.
You know
Yeah.
Carson Daly?
Yeah. TRL.
Oh, I was going to say SNL. On your own shows I'm talking about.
Total Request Live.
Oh, yeah.
In between MTV News every hour. What was it like? Every hour, on the hour, every hour, 10 minutes to
With
the
Kurt
hour.
Loder.
Yeah, that dork. What a dink.
Poor thing. He really wanted to be news. You know what I mean? And MTV gave him a gig. And so he sat there reporting like as if he was
Like
fucking
tapping
real reporter.
papers and everything behind
Uh-huh.
the desk report, like
Talking about
full
Britney
on.
Spears.
Yeah.
Britney Spears
This
out with a
just
new
in.
single.
This just in.
Hit Me Baby One More Time tops the charts again.
The insane clown posse is at it again with more antics and festivals.
You know what's wild about Hit Me Baby One More Time?
That
That-
if you play it backwards, it's a satanic
That would be wild.
message and ritual.
No, man. That song was written by a German dude that didn't speak English.
Uh huh.
And, well, he didn't speak, like, English well, but he was, like, a known producer.
Do you know any of the lyrics? I don't know any except for the title.
Well, I mean, think about the title. Hit Me Baby One More Time. Sounds like domestic violence.
Yeah.
And it's because he thought Hit Me Baby was the same thing as Hit Me Up.
Like, call me?
Yeah, like hit me up, baby, one more time. That's what he thought the song was about. And he wrote a gang of songs of those like popular pop hits back
A
then.
bunch, yeah.
Another one of them was it Backstreet Boys? You are my fire. Like you sing that whole song, it doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense.
Uh huh.
I want it that way means nothing. He never tells you what way he's talking about. He never even talks about that. And it's because this dude was German, didn't really speak English. He was just good at the melodies. And so he would write these songs, and they're pop songs, so no one gives a fuck. No one listens to it. Everyone just sings those lyrics. We all know every fucking lyric of it. No one knows what it means. And no one cares.
Yeah.
It's like not giving a fuck at all.
He's Swedish, and his name is Max Martin, and he's written what did it say? Co-written 25 Billboard Hot 100 #1 hits.
Holy
Oh, yeah.
buckets.
Six
So
of
when you
those
hear shit and
defeated
you're
at
like-
#1.
So when you hear them pop songs and you're like, man, this song don't make no sense.
What'd you say his name was? Klaus or
It
something?
probably don't.
Max Martin.
Max Martin.
Klaus.
What'd you say?
Klaus.
I think that was
Klaus.
racist against German. Sorry, German people.
Swedish.
Well, you were calling him German earlier.
Oh, that's because I'm racist.
Northern Europe is German.
They're all from Germany.
If they don't sound like English people, fucking Germany.
Look, I don't even know. You could show me a map. And only because I've looked at the Berlin Wall before, I can maybe tell you what Germany is. Otherwise, I could tell you what Switzerland, Sweden, Germany, Holland. I don't give a fuck. I don't know none of them countries.
Finland,
Finland?
Iceland,
Is that a place
Greenland.
for real? Well, those ones are easy though, because they're islands, and so like Iceland is out there, Greenland is way the fuck out there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then Ireland and Scotland are the same fucking island. And fuck, small as fuck, dude.
But in the same regard, could you find Afghanistan on a map? Pakistan?
I could find Afghanistan only because of recently. Pakistan would be a wild guess.
What about like some of the Baltic bloc countries like
I don't even know what the fuck that means.
Yugoslavia and like the Ukraine and
I thought Yugoslavia is not a place no more.
whatever it's called?
Oh no, it's Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia.
Nope,
and-
couldn't tell you.
All those places. Do you know where
No, I would just write like Turkey over the whole thing.
Turkey?
Turkey.
All right, there's that puddle. Below
Turkey.
the puddle is Turkey. Off to the side is Italy. The dick in the puddle is Italy. I know that one. I know that one.
That's the boot. That's the boot, boy. That's the only reason I know Italy is because it's the boot. Portugal and Spain, just same thing. Portugal, Spain,
Portugal, Spain.
whatever. I know France is right there somewhere. There's a little ass island in there, and we call that British Columbia.
Geography with Justin.
Or not British Columbia.
I like
fucking-
this game.
What do you call fucking the United Kingdom? What do you call it?
England?
Is it just England? Britain. But I guess that's right.
United Kingdom?
Yeah.
I think is the
Well, United Kingdom is Britain, Ireland, and Scotland.
was, right? Like all isn't all that
think
shit
it
like
is.
kind of up in the air right now?
Well, no,
I
that's
don't-
the European Union. So that was all of those European countries signed a treaty, or some kind of union type thing, so that they would have the euro. And I don't know,
Open
do
border for
politics
trade.
together since there's only fucking you got countries trying to make decisions. And there's goddamn 30,000 of them, and they're trying to compete alongside motherfuckers who got 800 million.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, amen. y'all got to sit at the same table. You know what I'm saying?
y'all got to sit at the small.
You got too many
country
dollars.
table.
You got to wrap it up. You know what I'm saying? Get it together. But Germany is the one that is out of the European Union,
Mhm.
right? Or no? Is it England?
No, it's England. That was
England's out of
Brexit.
the,
Yep,
yeah,
Brexit.
But they're still the United Kingdom. You know what I mean? That's just
But I think there's actually been some stuff about because there's some shit going on with like Ireland and like North Ireland and South Ireland, and some people are like the people there. Some are like English heritage folks, and some are just like straight up Irish. That place.
yeah. But we're talking about a
folks.
place that's like the size of fucking Rhode Island.
Yeah, but them people have been there for a really
I
long
get
time.
it,
They've
but
been
they're
at
just-
war
they're all
for
mad.
a long time too.
I know, dude. They live in Virginia and they're mad at people as if they're different that live in DC.
Mhm.
And you're like, "Foo, you're all the same motherfuckers."
Yeah.
Wrap it up. You know what
I
I'm saying?
mean,
Wrap it up.
They definitely don't sound the same, but
neither
still
does,
the same.
Neither does the South versus the North
It's
or
true.
the West versus the East. Like, what the fuck? Wrap it up. You know what I'm saying? Come together. They need a good Beatles song. You know
Wrap
what I'm
it
saying?
up.
Oh man, what are we talking about? What time is it?
I don't know. It must
It's
be about 9
9:06.
o'clock.
October 14th. My name is Justin. To my left, your right, that's going to be Steven.
Yo,
Straight ahead of us, producing always Eric.
What's up, y'all?
And then we got Boo somewhere around here,
yeah, she's hanging.
shaking a titty right now. And this is the Lone Ranger vs. Tonto up in this motherfucker.
Hey,
What's going on, Steven?
not too much. Not too much, to be honest. A little late, but you know we're getting it in.
We couldn't do it last week. Yeah, my brother got married. Shout out to Big Zome and Cindy,
Yeah,
Mrs. Romero. That's pretty tight. I got
Yeah.
a sister now. She's cool as fuck too.
Oh, that is
She'll whoop
cool.
y'all ass too. Talk shit.
So, well, I wouldn't fuck Cindy.
Absolutely not.
No.
Not today.
So when I was saying goodbye to your dad at the wedding,
Mm-hmm.
I walked up to him, and your aunt Margaret was standing next to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk up, and she's like pretty quiet there, and she like cuts in. She goes, "Oh, you must be the Delicio that's here." And I go, I go, "Yes, ma'am. Could you tell by the way I look?" And she goes, "No, they just all dress like that."
Just so we're clear, I wish we had a picture, but posted on Instagram later. Boy, first of all, was looking slick as a motherfucker with a fresh ass bolo tie, but also semi suited up, and it was pretty casual for the rest of anybody. I think about 20% of people were pretty suited up, and so like a good 80% of everybody else was casual. And so, great joke, great moment.
Hilarious.
Shout out my auntie Nina.
Right on. Yeah. Great time though all around. Real nice ceremony. Reverend Rock did a bang up job.
Rev Rock.
Rev Rock.
Rev Rock.
Yeah.
It sounds like a sitcom. Like can't you just hear like just see Maine waddling in and like that they're like, oh, you know, like track plays like him like coming in together like, oh, him all excited. Oh, I could definitely see it. I should direct a sitcom.
That'd be a good one.
Everybody
write it?
loves.
Did you know that the showrunner, you know what a showrunner is?
No.
A showrunner is the person that's in charge of a show entirely. They're like the manager, right, of the show. So if
Okay.
something happens with a show or something doesn't, when it goes to the writers or shit like that, whoop-de-woo, everything has to go through the showrunner, right? The showrunner of the show, Dear White People,
Mm-hmm.
is white.
Hmm.
And that's wild. It's like a very black show if you've never seen it before. I mean, it's from the black perspective. It's written in a way like to try to, you know what I mean, go over social issues and cultural issues from a positive black perspective, you know, with the hopes that like white people may see a different perspective than what they may be used to.
What's it called?
And the showrunner is not black. And it's so wild to me. It's called Dear White People.
It was a movie first, wasn't it?
I think it's a show on Netflix.
Well,
Yeah,
I think it was a movie
It
first.
was a movie first.
And
Was it
then
a
they
movie?
made the show. I
think
saw the movie.
based off of the
That was like 5 or 6 years ago. I
either
would
the
say.
movie or the book I just read. Based on Dear White People by Justin. Yeah, a movie.
Mm.
Same person though.
Same thing though.
Why is that
Simon.
wild to you?
Justin Simon, but his Wikipedia is a Black American filmmaker.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that person. The showrunner specifically. So the showrunner for the movie then on Netflix, and again that means that any decision that happens with Dear White People is ultimately answered and filtered first through a white person, and that's just like why, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or no?
No, I agree.
Doesn't that like defeat the purpose? You know
Well,
what
I think it definitely dilutes the purpose.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. Because, like you said, I think filter's the exact right word. I don't think there's really any white people that could be completely unbiased.
Well, and maybe he does a great job.
Filter.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I just thought that was weird.
I do
like-
too. I think it is weird too, and maybe he has a team around him that like lets him or make it pretty good because that show does pretty well. It doesn't like
Mhm.
get bombed on or canceled or anything, and I feel like people would jump on it if it did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is I mean, big ups if he's doing a good job and trying to stay listening.
Wild.
It is Jacqueline Moore from Cleveland, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland.
There you go.
That sounds pretty white to me. I don't know.
Cleveland sounds white to you.
Ohio. Oh,
Ohio?
yeah.
You ever been to Ohio?
No.
You ever been to Ohio?
Nope. Shout out to Bama though. I'll be out there eventually.
I've never been to Ohio either.
Never.
Been to Iowa, which I commonly confuse with Iowa or Ohio.
I don't know if I've really been to Iowa. I've been through Iowa.
I don't even think I've ever touched down or set foot in Iowa. Ohio, sorry. No, Iowa I have. Ohio though, nah.
I can't tell you on the map where Idaho or
Iowa.
most of these places are, to be honest.
Idaho. Iowa.
Oh, Iowa's over there. Okay.
It's like right under Ohio, no?
Next to.
Next to, I think it's under.
Iowa has Illinois, Indiana in between Ohio.
Oh, okay,
So
that makes sense.
Iowa's under Minnesota, and then Ohio is
Over to the
east
right.
of that. Yeah.
I got
Mhm.
it. Got it.
Then Indiana. Who the fuck's ever been there? You ever meet anybody from Indiana? No.
They're Colts though, so it's definitely a place.
I don't know. Peyton Manning's the only person I ever met from Indiana.
You know what I've never met from Indiana? An Indian.
No,
Never. Never.
never.
That's so wild. They named the entire place out of us as soon as they kicked us out.
Is that what that name's from? Is it term from the word Indian?
All of these states around here are. Oklahoma,
Well, I know that they're like
Missouri.
words that they
Dakota.
take from like native like people around those areas.
A
But
lot
I
of
mean
them
like
were the people.
that one.
Yeah, Indiana. Huh? It's the same-
Indiana was a.
Indiana is just the Indian land. Indiana.
I didn't know that.
Where else would that? Why else would it be called Indian anything?
I don't know.
You know
There's
what
all
I'm saying?
kinds of shit. I don't know why it's called
It's like
one
the
thing
District
or
of
another.
Columbia. That's named after Columbus.
Oh,
Anything named Columbia is named after Columbus. So whenever Columbia, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus,
That's what I was trying to
Ohio.
say. Columbia is definitely another city in other places though.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of random ass stuff like that. But yeah, they ran out of names quick, boy. They name everything the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Everywhere you go
Mhm.
here, and you see the same names, the streets, and like
Mm-hmm.
the same rich folks.
Utah's named
everywhere.
after native people.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that gets me when is Inglewood, but when they spell it with an I.
But see, Inglewood with an
Inglewood?
I is in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's another places too. I've seen. I don't know where,
That's
but
like
I've
Mac
seen
10.
it somewhere else. Yeah.
Inglewood, Inglewood, always up to no good. One time, me and my brother went to. My brother took me, as a matter of fact. Shout out to my brother. Took me to L.A. because basically he had somebody cancel,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went with him, and we stayed in Inglewood, had an Airbnb, and it was in this cat converted his garage, or maybe the family converted the garage into an Airbnb, and it was behind their house. We were there for like the first day, and I woke up early in the morning, and I get up, and I go outside to like blaze or shit,
Mm-hmm.
and I walk out there, and there's this fool blooded up and down. Everything red paisley from his fucking loafers to his hat, all the way up and down. And then he turned and said, "What's up?" And he was an Indian dude, not native Indian, Indian.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Whoa, like, y'all got like Indian bloods over here?"
That's how they get down out here.
And apparently-
I didn't even know.
Talked to him about it because I told him I was like, all our bloods are Latino unless you go to the east side. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yeah, no, there's a whole crew of, I forget what they call themselves. He told me the name of his crew. And I was like, damn, that's hard as fuck, boy. Smoked a blunt with him, and then he continued mowing the lawn and went on his way. It was way cheaper to stay there than to stay at the hotel. And
No
fucking
kidding.
Oh yeah, and I think it was only like 5 minutes from where like everybody else is like congregates.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Venice Beach and shit.
Not too bad. Staying
Airbnb's
over in
pretty cool.
Inglewood.
Oh yeah. It's like, I don't know. Trust the hood more sometimes. Isn't that weird? Like there's so many people that like drive through the hood and feel like
Uncomfortable.
less safe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I start to feel more safe when I'm in like rich neighborhoods. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna get pulled over. I'm gonna get a ticket. Not even do anything. I'm gonna be late because these folks are just gonna pull me over for nothing.
Yeah, for being a little bit too off-white in this neighborhood.
And dude, I used to drive. I had a Maxima, a white one, and I had rims on it. They were like 19-inch rims, but a Maxima is kind of small, and it was like a early 2000s. You know what I mean? So it's like a smaller Maxima. Maybe it's gold. I don't even remember what color it was. And fucking with the rims, I got pulled over twice a week.
Dang.
Everywhere, all the time. It was so annoying. You know how many times I fit the description of a bank robbery?
Really?
Yeah, no, but it's not real. That's their excuse. So what if somebody ever pulls you over and they tell you that you fit the description of a robbery nearby? Just know that that's their excuse to pull you over.
Gosh.
And I didn't know that until you hear it fucking 19 times.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Cops
no
are
way-
dumb as fuck.
There's no way that the
one
same car is
19
robbing the
times.
same hood every single day, bud. Like you've done this for the last 19 weeks in a row.
Right? You're
Fuck.
fucking A.
We know each other by name now. You know what I'm saying?
You're
Like, leave me alone.
Back up, Chief Wiggum. Fucking. But
Anyways.
yeah, I didn't have that experience with my car. I did get pulled over a few times because of just what my car looked like, but the windows were tinted and it was dark, and I'm sure those cops made an honest mistake pulling over somebody who looked like me.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't see you glowing through the window.
They said your car matched the description of a known drug dealer in this area. The fuck? Shut up.
No.
Fucking racist ass cops.
No, it did not.
No, it didn't. But it did look fancy, and it had dark tint, and that was enough. For
And I mean, in their minds, though, they're like, well, we do this, and 1 out of every 4 times, we find something. And in their mind, that, like, justifies it. And all it really is, it's like, dude, if you pulled anybody over all the time like that, you get 1 in 4. You want to find the cocaine? Start pulling over white kids in the fucking nice neighborhoods.
Yeah.
All the time. The same way you pull us over, you'll find all the cocaine. Where the fentanyl at? Them boys got it.
bingo, right over there. Head up a hill of big houses, and you'll find the cocaine.
Yeah. She agrees.
Yeah, that's a nice commentary. Thank you, boo.
We did get a comment from a Stuart Brees that says, an interesting name of a city in Pennsylvania is called Intercourse. It is a part of Amish towns out there. They sell things that say, I love intercourse in bold print.
Shout out to Stu Brees,
Fuck, Stu Brees. I don't recognize that name.
John Brees' little brother.
Ooh, you know what? I recognize John. I can't put a picture,
John was
a face
closer
on
to
either
your
of
age.
them.
He might have been a year older than you,
Yeah,
but yeah.
that sounds more familiar.
Did you
Anyway,
say
shout out to the
inter-
Breezes.
The Breezes?
The Breezes.
Yeah.
The
You said
breezes.
Intercourse, Pennsylvania.
Intercourse. I think there's a
Intercourse.
Sandwich, Pennsylvania. There's all kinds of places with weird, funny names across the country.
Yeah.
I think there's
Truth and Consequences, New Mexico.
there's a Last
that's a
Chance,
good one.
Colorado, I believe.
I think Truth and Consequences had a different name though, and then they filmed the movie Truth and Consequences there, so they like changed the name of the town.
Yeah, that is the same story I heard.
Wild.
You probably told it to me.
Maybe. I don't remember telling that story before.
Maybe somebody else told it to me, but I have heard that before about Truth and Consequences.
Well, speaking of truth and consequences, you see John Deere had 10,000 people go on strike today.
I did not.
Oh,
Kellogg's is on strike right now too.
Mm.
So, if y'all out there shopping, support the workers that are demanding a livable wage and livable hours by not buying Kellogg's cereal or none of their stuff until they get what they want. I guess basically they Kellogg's had all these people with what they would pay them nice enough. People were living well.
Mm-hmm.
And then they introduced out of country, and I think some in country, but mostly out of country. These people that were only supposed to work 2 or 3 days a week
Mm-hmm.
and kind of lighten the load.
Right.
And over the last year, Kellogg's is moving to like try to push out everyone on the you know what I mean, that's making money with like good benefits and shit. And so they're trying to overwork them to quit so that they can replace them instead with these temporary workers, but then putting them on full-time hours.
Right.
You know
And
what I
then
mean?
Firing them after 90 days so they don't have to. Then they bring a new batch in and then do that and like work their 90 days so they never have
it's-
to pay them benefits.
And the
never-
union was like, nope,
Well, and a lot of the
stop
times,
trying.
the hard part is because they know that those temporary workers aren't union members either. And so, like, as they weed out those people, scare tactics to get them. I mean, big corporations like Kellogg's has been busting unions and labor forces like this since the get go, right? Like 40-hour. I'm pretty sure Kellogg's was around for a lot of like the labor movements of the last 100 years. I think.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
You know, and then you see like
They've
Amazon
been making cornflakes for a gang.
and fucking long ass time.
You know they originally made cornflakes to try to stop kids from masturbating?
Now you're the one fucking sounding like Rob Gallegos making shit
Nah,
up.
man. That's straight up true. Look that up.
Fuck, it's not.
Look that up. Look. The dude who originally made Kellogg's was trying to make a bland cereal because he thought that like it was all the sugars and stuff that had all the kids all sexually active. Straight up. And so he was trying to make a bland cereal that would dull down the senses and make them less susceptible to masturbation.
They're like, stop
True
pulling your
story.
horn. Stop pulling your horn. Here's some corn.
that sounds like some Dr. John Harvey Kellogg would say.
Did you look it up? What's it say there?
I'm still trying to find something about the origin.
Just put in Kellogg's masturbation. You'll find it.
His invention of cornflakes was part of his health movement that he called biological living. Americans wanted meat, and potatoes, and cake and pie. Oh, I can't find anything about the mashed.
Well, just search
Well, that-
because you're
the
looking on the
name of
wiki.
that-
That's why.
The name of that, though, what was the system called?
Biological living.
Biological living. That sounds like some shit where there's like, you can't jerk off. You have to like keep
So-
your
it's so
biological
unnatural.
essence. You got to keep your essence in. And if you jerk off too much, well, then fuck, bud, you're going to lose all your essence. And then how do you get it back? And then in
Eat the
slides.
blind ass corn.
Inside, like, what if we just took some flour and some corn and ground it up and then heated it up, and then we put cow titty milk on it. Put that in there.
Take the sugar out so no one likes it.
little milk,
Uh-huh.
and then boom, you have the base of the pyramid of the food group that obviously, according to Dr. Kellogg, is probably the way to go. Then they made us all fat. Our parents and us, when they're like, here's how food works. This is the pyramid. We're like, it's not. And they told us that we only have like
Oh yeah, that was the dumbest thing we ever learned.
5 areas of our tongue that taste things. That was
Salt
a lie.
is in the back. Won't put salt on the front of your tongue and tell me you don't taste that shit.
Nothing. It's
What'd you find, Eric?
To fight off any potential desire, he worked on ways people could curb sexual impulses, including creating cornflakes as well as a contraption which ran water through the bowel before following it with yogurt delivered between the mouth and anus.
Hold on, read that last one again. Run that back for me.
I need a diagram.
DJ,
Hold
run
on.
that back real quick.
Rewind.
Did you say they're taking water in their booty
As a
and yogurt, and then somehow their mouth was involved?
as a contraption which ran water through the bowel before cleaning with yogurt delivered between the mouth and anus.
Well, I mean,
wrote
there's
this.
a long ass distance between your mouth and anus. Like
I
there's
don't- yeah, I
literally
need-
like
I need clarity.
hundreds of feet of.
But first and
of
foremost,
track.
you read that he
Not hundreds,
try to
dozens.
subside sexual desire or some shit.
Yes.
Cornflakes.
It was part of his of a religious movement.
What religion was he?
Seventh-day Adventist.
So if you want to really stick it to the man,
What's that one?
go
Seven-
eat some cornflakes
was a
and jack
seven-
off at the same time.
he was a
Jack
what I mean?
off on the corn
Stick it
flakes.
to corn-
That's
Kellogg,
really what
you know
you
what I
should
mean?
be doing. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Scream Kellogg when you finish. Kellogg. This was for you.
There is a cock on that box, isn't there?
Oh my god. Oh man.
That's some fucked up, like, that is some Seventh-day Adventist shit. Not to talk shit about them, because I don't. Isn't that the Latter-day Saints, folks? Seventh-day Adventist.
I know I've seen that church
They have a
before,
more,
but I don't know.
I think they have a
who-
more colloquial name. Like, like Mormons or something that might.
No,
But they're not Mormons, but Mormons, I think, like the Latter-day Saints, isn't that
Oh, I hear
also
what you're
Mormon?
saying.
You know, like how sometimes it's like they have
Yeah.
different.
They're not Adventists. That's what I call them.
Orientation is Adventist. Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Classification is Protestant.
Oh, that's the
Theology
problem.
is
That's it. Protestant. That's all we need. That's
policy.
Classic
Polity
America.
is Presbyterian. Episcopal. Region is worldwide. Oh, they have a president named Ted.
Oh man, shout out to the President Ted. You know what I'm saying?
of the Seventh-day Adventists.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they have gang signs.
I hope he
I
has
want
Kellogg's.
churches to have more gang signs.
Oh, if churches had gang signs, I'd totally join one.
Right? I think they need to up their numbers with, that kind of street gang cred.
Oh yeah.
Take that hip hop street gang idea, but just with your gang signs. And,
It reminds me of the Jesus Christ dude. Jesus Christ! I love you, God.
Oh,
That's the dude. I'll tell you right now, if he could convince me to be religious for sure,
yeah.
he'd bring me on his team. I'd be like, dude, I'm on your team. Shit, don't hit me.
All right. Jesus Christ.
All right, shit.
Jesus Christ. Oh man. That's too much. That's too much for me, all that stuff. Protestant. No rubbing one out. Kellogg's. Well, maybe it's not no, but just
I
less.
mean, that's like the 20s. The 10s, maybe.
The aughts.
the aughts.
The aughts.
The aughts. We're in the 20s, speaking of.
We are in the 20s.
It's hard to say the 20s when
Shall they
we're
roar?
there now.
Shall they roar like the last century's 20s?
I mean,
We don't know. We'll see.
we shall see.
It's been an interesting.
You know what? The 20s roared, though, because of Prohibition. It wouldn't have roared nearly as historically if these fools weren't drinking on the sneaks.
Well,
Mhm.
and buying everything on credit, which is what?
Well,
You're
that
not
was,
supposed
that
to
was
do
the
that.
Great
down to
Depression.
29.
You're not supposed to do that.
He's like, oh, shit, good.
I gotta.
But
call
it
back
wasn't
up.
like credit cards then, because it was fucking 22. And so buying on credit was just like, hey, I'll pay you back. I'm going to get this, like, you know, I got this great investment, you know, so I'm going to buy this house. And as soon as this investment pays off, I'm going to fucking pay you back for this house. And then stock market fucking crashes. A bunch of people's investments that they bought on credit for these like stock market shit that they're like, oh, it's going up, 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 up. And they bought all that shit on the credit of having all that money. The stock market crashes. Everybody fucking loses all their shit. And then that's how we get the fucking Great Depression in 1929. And then soon after, a decade later, World War II starts. Because you're also coming out of World War One is what really starts the 20s is the sorrow and pain of World War One and all the people dying, coming back, starting more of like a push of industrial revolution, starting more of a push of like generating cities. Spanish flu in 17, I think. And then the 20s, like the 20s is when some freedom started to open up. You saw like the underground movement of booze and all that stuff and social clubs
Al
and like
Capone and shit.
and you know, even in this time we have well, a little bit later until the 30s, the early 30s is when you start seeing the gun laws that we follow fucking now are the gun laws that were written then. 1934, I think, are what we still work on and try to amend these fucking silly laws that they made for Al Capone style times of fucking shooting people up in banks with a machine gun. And I mean, it's so such a different
doing
world.
That for the most part, though.
Yeah.
So it's not like it didn't work.
I mean,
I mean, not to been the best way, but you can't say it like as if like, oh, we got these outdated gun laws. When it's like, well, those gun laws at the time seemed to, you know what I mean?
And they were appropriate for then, and they were still kind of bad.
They
were still kind of bad in terms of definitions of like machine guns because they weren't a machine gun wasn't a thing when those laws were written, right? They were a thing, but they weren't called.
They had Tommy guns. What the fuck are you talking about, boy?
Right.
That right there is the beginning of that time with those guns. Those guns came out in the late 1800s.
They just pause. They just weren't called that, right?
But that's because they didn't know anything about it yet.
Because
that's why in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, you had before World War One, you had these fools like were going to war, where like one side would have guns, and the other side was charging with swords, and of course. You know what I mean? That didn't work.
I mean, I don't think it was swords.
Oh no, there was absolutely no. There was absolutely no. There was absolutely wars where fucking fools on swords, whole countries on swords were just like wiped out. And then not only that,
not in the 20th century, dude.
In the late 1800s. What do you mean?
Late 1800s,
that's what I'm talking about. But you're talking about something that's 30 years before the Great Depression, 40 years before the Great Depression. That stuff is still has waves that are reverberating. That's why World War I was such a big deal, was because for the first time, we had to stop charging like that, and fools had to figure out how the fuck do we go to war when we're not charging our entire line, because that worked all the way up until multiple shots. So it worked even when there was, you know what I mean, you were loading one gun at a time. You could still charge with fucking swords.
I know, but Justin, 1776...
I know, but Steve, this is history, bro. I'm not just making this up.
I know, but just put it
ask Kellogg. He remembers.
All right, but put it in perspective. 1776, we know, was fought with like fucking muskets and shit.
100 years later.
100 years later, you're telling me that there were entire countries just being like, "Fuck, we didn't know about guns."
When they're fighting with, but guns aren't the same thing. When they were fighting with muskets, those were not nearly as effective as even the natives with their bow and arrows. What killed the natives was disease. If they didn't have the disease, the natives would have won. They could shoot off way more arrows than a fucking army could get shots off. It took a minute and a half to fucking reload.
Yeah, which is why I'm saying like 100 years difference in there. I'd assume that those countries would have gotten
No. When they had those reloaded guns like that, they were still fighting in the style that they would with swords. So they would have a line, and then they would move forward and move forward and move forward until they would connect, and then fools would bang it out. Until the late 1800s, when machine guns and mortars, artillery came out, and all of a sudden you had these dudes charging the line and then getting blown up and gunned down and not even understanding the technology that's hitting them. So for about 20 years, there's a whole fucking thing where the whole world is watching, trying to figure out, well, what the fuck are we gonna do? And then World War I happens, and that's when it's implemented for the first time of, okay, a new style of war that had never been seen before, and it fucking, evolved past what it was before and never was that again. But now, you know what I mean? You go through World War I, all these people die. So then World War II comes around, and those are the first, generals that have seen that style of war before. Does this make sense?
Yes, little bit here. I mean, I hear you in terms of I'm just still doubtful on the swords, but I'll.
I'm just saying, by the 20s, if they're making gun laws in the 20s, those guns are hardly different than the ones we have now.
I'd be pissed if
They are the same ones. We still
That's what I'm
have
saying.
only amended, and also they were appropriate for the time. But it's kind of silly to think that they're appropriate for the time now.
Why?
Where
If the guns haven't evolved.
they have evolved. That is
Not
why.
really, not farther than that.
There was no gas-powered rifles at that time. Period.
Yeah, but the amount
The
of shot- it's not
AK-47
about when
didn't
it's
exist at
powered
that
by.
time.
It's not about when it's powered by. It's about the amount of
No.
shots you get off.
No. Gas-powered rifle is not meaning that it's powered by gas. It means that the blowback
gas
is
I
powered by
understand.
gas.
I understand exactly what you mean, and what I'm telling you is that a Tommy gun shoots as many rounds as an AK-47, if not more,
It's
and
different.
bigger rounds. I think.
So, I mean, guns have evolved because a Tommy gun, when you shot it like that, you shot it like this, and it just fucking went everywhere, and it hit
That's why we
some
don't shoot
people.
with that no more.
I know, but now you can take a fucking fully automatic AK-47 and shoot it in a pretty good grouping, at a decent distance with ease, right? Without ever picking up a gun, you
Sure,
can.
but how does that make the law different?
Well, it needs. Well, I don't think that the laws that were created then. There's also a bigger purpose to these laws that we'll get to, but I think it needs to evolve because the culture is different, guns are different, the availability is different, and the biggest thing that gun law specifically was there for was to stop poor people from getting guns. That was the reason for that law. When they put in a $200 the stamp that you have to get a suppressor, to get a automatic rifle, to get a bunch of different even little tiny shit now for your gun, you have to get a stamp for it. And that was $200 then. That same stamp now that they've extrapolated the math, if they would have changed it, which hasn't changed, which is amazing, would be $4,000 these days. So,
But they haven't. So
Oh, they will.
instead, all that happened now is everyone has them, and they were not going to be able to do that. Fucking who? Who the fuck is gonna in the United States allow these fools to change those gun laws that way?
Ted from the Seventh Day Adventist.
Maybe.
Probably
And that's
Ted.
it.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's probably the biggest fucking NRA dude we know. He's probably the head of the NRA in his state.
maybe Ted.
He definitely ain't taking none. I'll tell you. I mean, man, ain't nobody putting nothing on guns like that. And if they do,
They're on guns now.
They're gonna-
All
they're
they
gonna
have to
get their
do is
wig
just
peeled
be
back.
all they have to do is just say the stamp costs are now more. And
yeah, no. And then
we're
that
gonna include-
administration is going to get voted out. None of that administration or their entire party is going to get reelected again. And then, if that's Democrats, that means the Republicans take over. And I don't know what you know about the Republicans, but I'll tell you right now, they'll overturn that shit immediately.
I mean, maybe, but I know there's a few levers that the Democrats will pull on this gun shit. And one of them is going to be something like this, where it's going to include some kind of payment or increase in your privacy, letting them
no.
have more information. Because
You sound like my Republican cousins just mad at Biden.
I'm not mad at Biden. Mad
No,
at
but
all
my
the
Republican
Democrats.
cousins that are mad at Biden, they all sound like this. They said the same shit about Obama, too.
Those are the only levers. If they pull anything, I think
They're
they'll
not
do
pulling
that.
nothing. If they were, what have they pulled? They talked about police reform, nada. Healthcare reform, nada. What gun reform, nada. What makes you think they're gonna do anything? Do you know what they have done? Cut the fucking taxes for themselves. In this new spending bill, they're trying their hardest to make it so they keep making more money and at our expense. All the same shit they always do. They're not fucking doing no giving a fuck about anything that the culture gives a fuck about. Name one thing they're doing right now besides pandering that they're actually doing.
What do you mean? Like
This administration or even the
don't fucking
previous
do
one.
I mean, they're trying to do
Besides
some.
status quo.
They're trying. I mean, the status quo is so low, which is always the Democrats' like MO is like take a shitty Republican president, and then the fucking status quo is so low, come in and do absolutely nothing, or just enough to be better. But like the bar's already set so low that just doing nothing is just enough to like make people not fucking act like they did the 4 years before when Trump and fucking people freaking out.
All they're doing right now is they're just giving it away. They're giving it right back to that platform. I'll tell you right now, in 4 years, Joe Biden does not get reelected. He's going to be outed by whoever the president or whoever the Republican candidate is, and it might be Trump.
Word on the street I hear is though Joe Biden won't run another term.
Well, it doesn't matter who they put up. They're not winning because they're losing right now. They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything they said they were going to do, and they're not doing anything that affects us in our pockets.
And they never do, and they never have to, because that's how they've built it up now. Like we don't have a chance to stop what they are doing, and flipping it back and forth seems to be fine for them. They've been doing it for literally all of our lives.
That's why
all of Eric's life.
That's why I voted for Mark Charles.
Mark Charles, is that like Guy Spencer's cousin or something?
No, that was the Navajo candidate.
Oh, okay. His name was really Mark Charles. He had two first names.
Mark Charles.
He should meet Guy.
Oh man, speaking of Guy, what do we got?
Dang, a beer I'm about to finish and you're about to open.
Hell yeah, what time is it?
I don't know. Fuck.
It's Slam City.
Slam City.
Slam City.
Holy buckets. We just got a West Coast IPA from Peculiar. I just grabbed something out of my fridge tonight.
Huh.
Nothing fancy.
If we grab something from my fridge, we'd be drinking Modelo.
Mm-hmm. Or you'd be drinking some weird ass shit. You'd be like, Justin, where'd you get this? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I had my mom over, or this person came over and got these and wanted one. And
I had Steve over.
That's what other people.
I don't know. Steve brought that shit for the people. Look at my shit all the time. I got my liquor cabinet, and up there I got like 3 bottles of beer just chilling. And fools be like, what's this? Can we crack it? I'm like, I don't know. Some weird ass beer Steve brought. That one might not even be beer. It might be some South American shit.
It's true. One
fucking
of them is
Kusava.
not beer.
Boy, got us drinking Kusava over here.
It's not. I don't even know what that is, but I think that one's Pulque, not Kusava.
See,
or
I knew it.
Yeah.
So tell me about this one.
It's a West Coast IPA, so it's gonna be hoppy and fucking
with Vic Secret.
Yep. Simcoe,
Victoria's
Columbus
brother.
hops, your favorite kind of hops. We got this
Fuck no.
Yeah, West Coast IPAs, they're usually like bitter and hoppy. They don't get a lot of like love anymore because of the hazy IPAs, and I dig these. This one's pretty good. It's got a nice like different hop profile, and it doesn't just taste like all the other like hoppy beers you taste. It has a little different going on, but it's just a hoppy beer.
I mean, it tastes a little fruity, but besides that,
I don't know what the history of the name. So like, I think we've talked about how hop names are like kind of like weed names and strains. I think they're named by like the people that make them, and Vic Secret is one that I'm always curious about. Columbus is one that there's like 4 different names the same hop goes by, but it's the exact same strain.
Columbus, Columbia, Colombo.
No, it's Columbus.
Columbitch.
Oh, fuck.
Columbus.
CTZ is what they Columbus. What's the Z? Tomahawk and
Racist.
all the hop names are like native names too. Simcoe. I'm pretty sure that one's in here, but all of them because they're all in the Northeast native names. But like Willamette or Willamette or something like that. No, that's an English one. That's not an American. All the American hop names though, a lot of them come from I think those different places. Because a lot of it's grown out in those big open lands.
Vic Secret Hops is I'm not sure if it's Australian or from the UK. Is fairly new to the game, only being introduced in 2013. She hails from the same Australian and UK roots of her sister Topaz. Pineapple and passion fruit
like
flavors.
We're talking about hops, right?
Yeah, but they're like I think sister as in like the strain or like species of hop that is bred together.
They do give it like her characteristics are, but she's not less of a breakout star in her own right.
I don't know why they gender the hop like that.
This might just be
I don't know.
YakimaValleyHops.com.
They make some cool hops.
It's the first one that came up when you look up.
Why do
the
hops
secret
got to be
hop.
girls? That sound like the matriarchy.
The matriarchy. Yeah.
Speaking of nonsense of the patriarchy, let me ask a Mexican. Hey there, Mexican. How do you feel about Latinx?
The word Latinx?
Yeah.
Can we talk about how you introduced that one though? Hey, they're Mexican.
Oh, yeah. I'm a Mexican homie or no?
See?
If you call me American, is that supposed to offend me?
Hey, they're American.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
That sounds like some code
Where I'm
to
from.
say like I'm about to say some maybe racist stuff.
Nah.
Get ready. Hey, they're American.
Nah. No. Because I have an opinion on this, but before I say my own opinion, I'm like, well, let me ask the person that this opinion is about. Latinx. And of course, it's semi about me as well, but it's way more about Eric than it is me. Why? Because he's a Mexican. Hello. Anyways, does that offend you? Do you not like being Mexican?
Does
think
that
that's pretty
offend me?
cool.
Does it offend me? No, I don't know how to feel about it.
I don't know how to feel about it when you call me a Mexican.
Oh, that, yeah, no, that's fine. I was talking about the Latinx thing. More specifically, I think that like the roots of it kind of came out of like a Hispanic or Latin like group of people that wanted to have a word that encompasses like the like a little bit of like the Mexican American feel of it, of like the culture and growing up in that way, in the same way that you can say like a black culture is its own thing. They wanted to have that for them, but I think it came out of like college educated like Latinos that like were higher up and they did that to kind of separate themselves a little bit.
Do you think they were Latinos though? Because I think it's totally woke white people.
That too, because like it also too like the X sound like that that it makes is like not a word that like or not a sound that like is, has roots in like Mexico.
No, obviously,
Like, when you say it like
because you
that
would say
too,
a
yeah.
sh, you, like an X like that, you would say it with like a sh sound.
Yep.
Or a ch, depending on where you're at. And it's like that, and that's the thing that pisses me off about it the most. It's like, how the fuck, I mean, because people have argued with me about it, about how it's more inclusive because of these things, and I'm like, because of the gender rise, and I'm like, look, that's just a corny English misunderstanding of Spanish. Like, just because Spanish words are either feminine or masculine, that doesn't mean that it means just men, male or female. That's not what it's talking about. The language is just built different. And so this idea to call it Latinx because it's like not inclusive to Latinas. Well, how the fuck is it even inclusive to Latinos when you can't say Latinx in Spanish?
Yep.
Like, what the fuck? Who is this inclusive to? You know who it's inclusive to? White people who are afraid to say Latino.
It's Mexican American people that like root more like side more to like the American side of things. Because yeah, like if you ask anybody from like Mexico, they'll be like, dude, that's trash. Like we don't use that here. Like most of the people that don't. I think it's like people that like had the idea of like or like in between like that Mexican American thing siding a little bit more with American, because I think like the other areas would be like Chicanos. But like once you think about that, sometimes like you start relating that to like the lowrider culture, like the
Well, but Chicano to me
like
has
that.
always been more like the Latino roots that were grown here.
Yep.
And then,
Like geographically,
but
here,
Latino
too.
is like the over
no
encompassing.
borders.
Yeah, like-
Latino culture from this geographic area, right? California, Colorado, New Mexico.
But it's not like you're
Arizona.
Latino or Chicano. Like Chicanos are Latinos.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And again, I just think it's like this thing because fucking people are afraid to say Latino. And it's like, well, how the fuck are they supposed to say it? Latin shit? Like, that's the dumbest shit I ever heard.
I think they're trying to switch it up to Latin like with an E at the end, which like kind of fits, but like it's still a little weird. Like it's made by people that don't belong in like in the culture.
Or that don't understand Spanish.
Yeah.
That they hear the O and they means, oh, that's the same thing as padrino. That must mean man. Well, I'm a woman. You're like, oh, Bob, move on.
So let me see if I can. So you see people using that term Latinx you think instead of using the term Latinos like as the plural for like Latin people, and their misunderstanding is that the plural is
Men.
and the plural is just in the masculine form of the word, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's like kind of like going against like that because like you have the Latino versus Latinas, and if you want to say it like in plural, it's Latinos, which is like the masculine form of it. And then Latinx is just trying to encompass like all of it into like the one word. But it like again, it's just all.
There's
the G's that
plenty of
come with
words
it.
though that also take the feminine side. You know what I mean? And so like you'll have the masculine and the feminine of the versions when you're saying them, but when you're encompassing it all, it takes the feminine word, and it literally it's just the language, and it's like, well, it's so American nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in England is over there. Nobody in fucking France is like, oh, we gotta be fucking cool with our Españas. With España. Well, what about Espanol? Oh, well, you know, and it's like, no, fool. That's just the way it is. That's the way the language works. If you want to understand, learn the fucking language. It's like the people who say Latinx are the same motherfuckers who are offended when you call a native an Indian. And I'll tell you right now, no natives are offended by being called an Indian. We don't give a fuck. That's white people. All scared. They got scared because black people at one point got mad at them for calling them African American because they're not from Africa. And so they're like, oh, fuck, maybe we got to change all the names.
I don't know about that.
Boy, tell me it didn't happen at the same time.
I don't know, man. I was not keeping too well a track, but I do want to share my experience with that word because I don't know. I just have a slightly different perspective, not a perspective that is my own because I'm not a Latino, Latina, or Latinx. I'm none of those things, nor am I a trans person. And I think my experience with that word is more from the trans Latin community or Latino community of wanting a word that they could identify with as a Latino or in that culture, whatever you want to call it, without the genderized piece at all, right? So you use an X, which in just a lot of different ways represents like an unknown or just a removal of something.
In English, yeah. It's not an English word. Learn Spanish.
Well, I don't think it's a need for an understanding of the language because I think the culture, there are people who are in that culture that use the term Latinx that speak Spanish fine and have a good understanding of the language and still use that term because it lets them identify with the culture that they do identify with in a way that doesn't have the gendered part of it for them.
No, again, the gendered part is
Hold on though.
misunderstanding.
Like I hear you. I've heard you talk about this in the past, but Justin, like how many trans friends do you have? How many Latin trans friends do you have that you've asked this
Not one
question
Latin.
to? And so
But again,
maybe ask one of them. Like you
what
I
the
think
fuck? I
like
would
you
tell
asked
them the same
Eric.
thing. Learn the language. It doesn't mean what you're saying. It
But if
means.
somebody tells you they speak Spanish and then you tell them learn the language and they already know the language and that's how they feel,
then I would talk to them about why are they nitpicking stuff.
I'm not gonna
Because
say
it's just the
learn the language, mostly because like you'll have people that like they're like especially like in the Mexican community where like if you don't speak Spanish, you're not Mexican. Or, like at all, and like that's a big point of contention to some people because like they have the roots in Mexico. They might be like their parents like grew up in Mexico and then they grew up here, so like they have that relation, but they might have not just like learned English. I do think that it started off with like those like with intention that like Steven was talking about, like being really inclusive. But I think through that they ostracized like a lot of like the older like Hispanic and Latin community. So like the parents, the grandparents like that aren't in that like subset of like college educated Latinos. And I think that's around where like the mix up and confusion started with.
it's definitely developed a pretentiousness around it, like that. Like it definitely, like when I first came across that word, didn't have any of this around it, right? Because it just ended up in different circles that I'm around when you do a lot of like, or look into a lot of like progressive, really far left progressive stuff. You run into these kind of things of people using those kind of terms, and way before like the media does. And then I will agree with you that if there is the stigma or like, especially, I really dislike any kind of language that would say like stop using Latino and Latina and start using Latinx, because that's what's right. But like, why the fuck does it? Like, if somebody's happy with Latinx and they can still use Latino and they can still use Latina, and if they identify with one of those three, I'm cool. Like, we've been saying, I remember all through school, Hispanic, Chicano, Latino. Like for some reason, those always were like on a test, or, you know, when you fill out those fucking bubbles and shit like that, it was always those three grouped together, and demographics, it was always them grouped together. They're entirely different cultures too, you know, especially when you, like, for some reason, Spanish people are lumped into that group, right, of our like middle American people that have been around here for a long time, but they're all lumped in because they speak the same language by force, kind of the first country, and look kind of the same, also because of probably that first country. And so adding in or having another option for people that feel comfortable identifying in that culture, I'm all for it. And I'm not saying that we should eliminate saying Latino, Latina. I just think that we should all be open to that and like understand it as something that, I mean, if you take, yeah, that's why I guess, like, if you're trying to take away Latino and replace it, yeah, fuck that. Like, I think people who identify as Latino should absolutely be like, this is what I want to identify as. And I think we should be able to just do it all. Like, I don't understand so much of fuck that word. Like, it's pretentious, and like some people have fucked it up, but everybody fucks up words or misuses them, or just obliterates them into a point where they don't mean as much because they mean so many different things to so many different people. And that's, you know, that I would say is on the community of how they want to move that word in a direction. And it is talking to people, but it's being open to those conversations of not just like, fuck that, it's a misunderstanding of language, because I believe that there are people that like that term that speak Spanish fluently or might not even speak English at all.
Well, of course there are. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's pushed entirely by people who have no say in the matter.
Entirely? Can't be entirely. You just admitted to people having those. And
yeah,
and maybe
because people
is,
are gonna agree, but I'll tell you right now, nobody who's making these, nobody writing at CNN, who's writing Latinx, they're doing it to pander. They're not
everyone
doing
writing
it
at
to be
CNN,
respectful.
no matter what they're doing, is writing to pander. That's their
Well, that's
fucking
the
job.
point.
That's their job.
Right?
They're a
And
media
that's-
company.
And that's what I'm saying, is it's like that's where this, because again, I don't know no Latino people who identify as Latinx. And I know a gang of Latino people. I don't know not one who identifies as Latinx.
Right.
And what's annoying about it is that you can't even say it in Spanish. So how the fuck is that inclusive? That don't make no sense. That sound like some person trying to come up with some shit. And again, it's like this whole fucking Latinos can't fucking save themselves from their own words. So here's the white people here to do it for you. Oh, man. Tired of that feeling.
I don't recognize that feeling in myself because lots of reasons, but I mean, it's fair. I will not ever call you Latinx.
Please don't. And I mean, if you want to, that's fine. You could do whatever. If you want to fucking call yourself bubble cake, I don't give a fuck. I'm of the bubble cake people. Fine. I don't fucking care. That doesn't mean I'm not going to think you're corny. And if you say Latinx to me, anything that you, like, everything you say after that has to do with Latino people, now I'm trying to pay attention to your agenda. That's corny. Now you've got an agenda. If you just say Latino, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, cool. The Latino people, keep moving.
Latinx is a
Call them Latin if you want. I don't give a fuck.
Latinx is a canary in your coal mine. There, you're just like, oh, we got trouble.
No,
here.
I just know it's corny.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you start like talking like about like the native languages of like Mexico, of like, they did have like all other alternatives for people that didn't identify with like like woman or man. So like, you know, there is a history there. There is something there, but like, yeah, like I think it was just like, you know, language is living. I think there could possibly be a word that replaces Latino and Latina, like
Latina
also
sounding good.
yeah, like it just has to be. I think it was like part of like the way that I was marketed, like the people, like the way that some people were using
Those
it.
fucking blue checks got it.
There you go, Twitter. But yeah, no, I think it's an interesting term, and I do know a couple of people that like refer to themselves as Latinx, and like use that when referring to people like that. And for the most part, there are people that like I think are doing a lot of things to help out the community, and I think that's part of the reason that I think that they use it more than anything else.
Doesn't that feel a little savior to you, though?
A little bit.
You know? And it's just like, I mean, if that was really if inclusion was really it, and it wasn't to include white people to be able to say it, then why didn't they ask somebody in Spanish? I guarantee Latine would have came out way before Latinish. Way before it. Don't make no sense.
Don't look at me like I was the one who made the fucking decision.
I'm just looking at
Like
you.
I just made the call, Justin. I just fucking made the call and moved the word over to the top white person and say like, hey, we're going with Latinx. That's what we're going
Well,
with.
that's why I was looking at you. 'Cause you're the top white person here, boy.
The top white person.
So, you tell me what the whites think.
Guy, we're going with Latinx.
Oh, man.
We're at about an hour and 5 minute
Yeah, we
mark.
can start wrapping up. Sorry if I annoyed everyone with that, but fucking A.
Oh man.
I care about things.
To wrap a little bit of the conversation that you guys were having a little bit earlier. So swords were the last time the military that kind of used it was the Roman military. After that, it was like more axes and spears and that type of stuff
That's just,
than anything else.
I mean, I would have given you all forged weapons, not just swords.
Yeah.
that's totally what I meant by it. You know
The
what I mean?
last like
I did. I figured just like metal wielding weapons, not like projectile.
You can't be like, he didn't have a sword, he had an axe.
Right.
You know
I
what
was
I'm
not
saying?
making that argument at all.
All right, word.
No. I'll give you all forged weapons, all close combat. But projectiles is more what I was
When were
like,
the last
not
ones there?
arrows.
would suggest one of the Roman civil wars of the Middle or Late Empire of the Late Western Battle.
Fucking say a date, bud.
Yeah, it doesn't have the date. I know.
See, and-
I know. I was trying to pull
And
it up
this
too.
history makes it sound like in the history of white people. I'm like, there's a gang of people on the earth. You're telling me the last motherfuckers to use swords was goddamn 1100?
Right.
No. Fuck out of here.
5th century.
Yeah, that's a bullshit. No. Motherfuckers all around the world. That's just that's the history of Europe.
That's
Maybe
white.
in Europe they stopped using fucking swords.
Yerp.
Europe.
One syllable. From 3 to 1.
Europa.
Yerp. Yerp. We should end this.
Europe.
We're just gonna sit here for an hour and just Europe.
Oh man.
All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that shit. And
Hey, we'll
Anything
be
else?
back. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Back at it again. Catch us live,
Hell yeah.
Facebook, YouTubes. Hey, we have an Instagram too. That occasionally some shit gets posted up on that shit.
including what he was wearing in the wedding.
Oh
So go
yeah,
check
that
out
shit will
soon.
be on there. You'll see me like this. Promise. Y'all get it. You'll get it there. I was like, man, I was mad too. Everyone was like, Steve, you look so good. Blah, blah, all this, all compliments all night. But right at the end, right? Bye, Victor. Good to see you. Congratulations. You must. And then that fucking happens all
must be
day.
Delicio.
Compliments.
You all look like you.
They all dress like that. I'm like, oh, got him.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Oh man.
Shout
For any
out
of y'all
to
that don't know, Steve's family, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 40, even 30.
100 is closest when we got into Raton.
Owned a bank in the same area my parents grew up,
Gotta go
and
with
then the
General store and hotel as well.
high-end store. So we're clear.
She did mention that.
The high-end store. There was like the normal ones that normal motherfuckers went to, and then there was the high-end one, was Delicios. And so that's where that joke comes from. And now that you're up to speed, peace.
Thank y'all for watching. Shout out to everybody that stayed through, and shout out to Stu Breeze. I hope you don't mind me omitting the art of your name, but shout out to you for commenting through this whole thing. Appreciate y'all. Peace.
Peace.